So I'm just gonna do it in this 5-gallon bucket right here. Sometimes I make way more at a time, and sometimes I don't make less. I usually will make a 5-gallon bucket, just so I have some ready. And you can let it sit out for as long as you want. It might just dry out a little bit and you'll have to get it wet again. This stuff, if you let it dry out for too long though, it could become hydrophobic again, which is something that I talked about in the last video. Peat moss is weird. It's just, it's naturally hydrophobic. Let's see. Which means it does not absorb water. Well, phobia means it's scared. So this is scared of water, but it doesn't absorb water until you soak it in water. And you don't have to soak it for a terribly long time. Just like, 10, 20 minutes is fine. But yeah, it's a strange thing, and it can become hydrophobic again after you already did soak it if you let it dry out. So let's get this mix going. So this is the peat moss that I have. It's a pretty big bag. It's upside down, but peat moss, 100% organic. It's the Majestic Earth brand. This is 3 cubic feet, which lasts you a really long time because you wouldn't believe how much this stuff absorbs water, and it just goes so far. Yeah, so this is 3 cubic feet. I think it's about like $12, or maybe it's more now because we've had this a couple months. And then we got a huge bag of perlite. I've only seen them up to like 3 cubic feet, but we went to our local nursery and we found a 4 cubic foot bag. This thing is really big. So here's the perlite. It's just little like lava, it's like popped lava rocks or something crazy like that. But this is your drainage. So you have your water holding capabilities in the peat moss, and then your drainage so it doesn't get soggy or waterlogged or anything like that. So this is the mixture that I really like for starting seeds. It works really well, and I usually put about like 1 part perlite to like 4 parts peat moss, around there. As I said in the last video, you can literally have more perlite than peat moss. It would just dry out faster and you'd have to water more often. So I like about 1 to 4, 1 to 3. So let me show you guys just how I mix it up. I'm not going to talk too much during this because I don't want to breathe either of these things in. Feel free to wear a face mask if you feel like it, but I guess I like to live life on the edge. So this peat moss stuff, a lot of times it basically comes in like a big brick. It's really easy to break apart though. You kind of just like crumble it up. Don't breathe this in, you don't want it in your lungs. And I usually layer it, the perlite and the peat moss, so I'll do some peat moss, and then I'll put some perlite in, and then peat moss and perlite, just kind of so it's easier to mix in, because if you did like half perlite, half peat moss, or vice versa, I don't know, in my opinion, it's just a little bit harder to get all mixed up. So I'm going to fill this bucket up with a little peat moss perlite lasagna, and then I'll bring you guys over to when I'm soaking it. Okay, so I got my lasagna right here, and I'm at my hose bib. I'm gonna start getting it soaked. And I usually will mix it up as it's soaking. The good part about the water is it keeps the dust down. That's really the reason why you don't want to breathe this stuff in, is just because it's such fine particles that it kind of goes right into your lungs. It's not that it's toxic or anything. And then, yeah, like I said, you'd be surprised how much water you can get in here. And sometimes I'll turn it off and just Make sure I'm getting all the way down there and mixing. But you can tell, like, down here how dry this stuff still is. So it really takes tons and tons of water to soak this stuff up. So, yeah, I'm just gonna be here for a couple minutes, just soaking and mixing, and then I will update with what it should look like. Okay, so here is the final product. It's a little bit more wet than I'd like it to be, but that's okay. That just means I can plant seeds in it and I won't have to water until it dries out a little bit. But as you can see, the peat moss is like not like a light brown anymore. It's kind of a darker brown, almost black. And it's all mixed up all nice. So yeah, I'll just lightly sprinkle this into some pots and put some seeds in there, and it'll be perfect. And it's way cheaper than buying seed starting mix at the store, and very easy.